This is a Faculty 5-minute video on mentoring undergraduate scholars. It'll discuss the research and key questions you might ask when you're setting up an undergraduate research program. The body of research on mentor and mentoring relationships acknowledges that defining a mentor can be fairly broad. It can be anything from teaching to guiding to coaching to introducing your profession to students or supporting them in the dynamic research environment. Crisp and Cruz were able to distill all of these different attributes of a mentor into 4 or 5 different domains that they identified, which includes mentors often provide psychological and emotional support to their students. They serve as role models. They're almost always advancing the disciplinary knowledge of their student, but they also help students with career advising and goal setting. These domains become apparent in additional research in which researchers took a look at student voices and recommendations for faculty mentors. For example, they recommend that faculty mentors be available to them. They know that research is dynamic and they want somebody there to generate excitement and applaud their successes, but also be there if they have challenges. They also want a sense of community. Consider journal clubs, team meetings, student colloquiums. They hope that their faculty mentors are attentive, that they have multiple modes of communication, whether that's text for weekends or phones or emails. They just want a plan for having you check in on them. They also hope that their faculty mentors encourage them to participate in the broader research community. They want to go to conferences, internships, but they're a little bit afraid about how that might occur. But above all, they hope that you're understanding, that you know to balance criticism with much positive reinforcement. Also of note, when students of color were interviewed about their research experiences and what they valued, they really valued hands-on learning experiences, career guidance, supportive environments, and also helping them to develop their identity as a researcher. Most of the available research on mentoring relationships is based on perceptions such as these from students, but also from faculty mentors. Through this collection of research, there are several tips that become apparent. First, it's important to balance your resources, but don't think about just money, lab space, and your time. Also think about your students as resources and their time, so you want to consider their final exam schedules and different demands that they may encounter during the semester when you're doing your scheduling. You also want to consider feedback. You want to be able to give a good assessment of student work throughout the semester, not just at the end of the research project. You also want to consider how to communicate that feedback to them and how to keep your communication open with them. Finally, you want to make sure that you structure your research experience to increase their independence as you go throughout the semester. And remember, these research relationships that you're developing often extend beyond one semester and might extend into the students' careers as you develop a strong relationship with the student and help them through career guidance, letters of recommendation, and providing networking support as they begin their work in academia. So as you set up your lab or research experience for your students, whether it's for one student or for a team, there are some key questions that you can ask yourself. First, how do you define your role as a mentor? Make sure as you define your role, you're also thinking about the boundaries that you want to set and you communicate those boundaries and expectations to your students. Next, how do you want to structure your research experience? Are you going to have teams? What kind of schedule will you have? How do you plan to report the progress to the students throughout the semester? And how will you make the research experience structured so that students become increasingly independent? What are the student expected outcomes? Don't think just about the end product, but also items that can be produced that would provide formative assessment during the semester. Of course, one of the key questions is what resources are going to be required. Consider your materials, but also time. Also, if you're planning to help introduce students into your profession, you want to consider activities such as journal clubs and dissemination of your research, including conference travel. You also want to think about your communication plan. Is it okay to email, text, phone? What's the best way to reach your students? And if your students need to be in labs after hours, how are they supposed to contact you? How will you address the developmental concerns that your students will encounter during the semester? Remember that you can always improve motivation by applauding perseverance and hard work, not that they're a good student or have an innate talent. Those seem to dissuade students from becoming more intrinsically motivated about the project. Make sure that you take the time to teach research ethics and also team building if those are part of the research experience. Finally, you might consider how you want to assess the effectiveness of your experience. The University of North Carolina provides several resources, including the Undergraduate Research Student Self-Assessment. This is a National Science Foundation project that can be of value to most mentors. This brief video was just designed to provide an overview of some of the research related to mentoring undergraduate research. You can get additional resources, including references and an article on setting up your lab or research experience by going to any search engine and searching the words Honors College, Columbus State, Faculty 5. Make sure you put those in quotation marks because this video is available there, and you can also get it by emailing me, Cindy Ticknor, at columbusstate.edu.